Alright everyone, Geordie Paul here, welcome back to Magpie Movies. So I've taken a leaf out of Big Paulie's book, whose video you can find on the link above, for he did a top 10 of his favourite movies from the 1980s. So I thought to myself, I fancy having a go at that. Messaged him, he said go for it mate, so I thought right, I'm going to do my own. However, when I was going through all of mine that I liked from the 80s, I ended up having 20. So this is a breakdown from 20 to 1 of my top 20 favourite movies from the 1980s. Let's crack on with it. Rock until you drop. Dance until your heart stops. Rock until you drop. Hello again. So yes, this is it. This is my top 20 favourite movies from the 1980s. Yeah, 80s and 90s I think produced some of the best and well-known what we'll call like classics in terms of genre and filmmaking, where people always go back and see recent films like Top Gun of late from 1986 had its sequel so many years later. It still holds a place in people's hearts, and the movies that I've composed and compiled here are the ones I want to go through. So the way I've looked at it, 20 through to number 11 are just an amalgamation. They're in no particular order, and then from 10 to 1 are the ones that I've thought in my mind are my top favourite films from the 1980s. Now, when I'm looking at the 10 to 1, it's not my favourite films of all time. They might be in a different order in that way, but purely judging it from the decade of 1980 to 1989, these are the movies I've put in that order. So without any further me babbling on and holding everybody back, this is my top 20 of the 1980s. So at number 20 from 1981 is the follow-up Halloween 2. Yep, I do enjoy this film, although it's nowhere near as good as the 1978 original. This one came out 3 years later. I still enjoy it to this day. It has obviously been kind of removed from the overall canon of Halloween with the release of Halloween Kills, and it's soon to be here, Halloween Ends. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It tells obviously the after events after Michael Myers fell out of the window onto the grass, and Donald Pleasant looks out and he's disappeared. This then obviously follows him into Haddonfield Hospital, where Laurie Strode's been taken, and well, basically this is the end of Halloween and Michael Myers saga, really. If you've watched it, if you haven't, then you'll probably know what if you have seen it, then you'll know what I mean, and if you haven't, then I'm not going to kind of spoil it for you, but this is really where it should have ended. Yeah, I picked all these up, the Scream Factory, Shout Factory releases. I love them all. But 1981's Halloween 2 is one that's grown on me over time. I didn't like when I first watched it, but I like it a lot more now. There's more killings, more brutality in this than the first one. So yeah, so there you go. Number 20 is Halloween 2. In at number 19 is, I think, one of the possibly only comedies in here, and it's from 1985, and it is National Lampoon's Vacation. Yep, the first time we meet the Griswold family with Chevy Chase as Clark. This is when they're on their way to Wally World, kind of a take of Disneyland World, really, and all the shenanigans that came on after it. There are obviously 4 movies in this. This one, European Christmas, and then Vegas, and then had a rehash with, I forgot the guy's name, Ed Burns, I'm going to say. No, not Ed Burns, Ed Harris. Forgot his name. From The Office. He did the kind of reboot as the son. But yeah, National Lampoon's Vacation. It's just brilliant. Proper 80s cheese comedy film. Brilliant. Highly recommend it. I think this is the best out of all four of the movies. Yeah. But yeah, so give it a go. That's National Lampoon's Vacation with Chevy Chase. In at number 18 is a childhood classic of mine from 1986 that has come from a TV cartoon show to a movie to live action to get another reboot in the next couple of years, and that is 1986's Transformers the movie, a film I remember going to the cinema to see with my mum, and when Optimus Prime died, I got upset. I guess it's when you brought up on this character from your youth. And I must have been, 96? I must have been like 7 or 8. To see him pass away on screen is heartbreaking. But yeah, I mean, this has got an awesome soundtrack as well. You know, you've got The Touch by Stan Young or Stanley. I've forgotten the musician's name, but what song that is. I still listen to that to this day, and it's all because of this. This to me is my favourite of all time Transformers movie. I do like all the new live action ones. I know some of them aren't the best as they can be, but I just love Transformers as a movie. Part of my growing up, part of my movie knowledge, part of my upbringing. Excuse me, Transformers a movie. I love Transformers as a kid. I had the full sticker book, all the toys. But yeah, so there you go. So that is Transformers a movie. That is in at number 18. In at number 17 is an action cop buddy movie from 1987, which is Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon. Yeah, I don't have the individual cases, sorry. So I can show you a disc that says number 1 on it, if you like. There we go. Yeah, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover. Too old for this shit. That's it, Lethal Weapon. Absolute bona fide classic. And it can really kind of be classed as a Christmas film as well, because it's set at Christmas with Gary Busey in there as well. But yeah, it's a suicidal comedy, doesn't want to live anymore. Riggs partnered with a close to retirement Murtaugh. It's just an absolute great come together. This has got 4 films, and I think a 5th one's in the works. I could be wrong. But Lethal Weapon, if you haven't seen the Lethal Weapon series, I highly recommend them. They're very good. First 2 are my personal favourite. I think the third one introduces Joe Pesci. I could be wrong. And then the 4th is The Family. But yeah, so Lethal Weapon, all time, I think, best buddy cop film ever, or series. So you go in at number, what was it? 20, 19, 18, 17 is Lethal Weapon. In at number 16 is a gangster. Is it a gangster? Yeah, a gangster biopic, I suppose, or fictitious biopic with Al Pacino, directed by, is it Brian De Palma? It is Brian De Palma from 1983, and that is Scarface. Absolute bona fide classic film. It's one of my all-time favourite gangster movies, along with Goodfellas. Scarface tells the rise of, I think he's Puerto Rican. I could be wrong. I haven't seen it in a while. Yeah, Puerto Rican, I believe. Coming up to America and realising the dream. Got the gangsters, drug taking, working with Colombians to get drugs over, rising his way up to power, and then obviously all falling down upon him. But yeah, Scarface is great. Al Pacino's in there. You know, it's got the classic line of "Say hello to my little friend." Absolutely brilliant, bona fide classic. If you haven't seen Scarface, again, like a lot of these on this list, I highly recommend you giving it a go. So yeah, Scarface, what a film, what an entry. Watch it. In at number 15, as we make our way to the final top 10, is 1984 creature feature from Steven Spielberg and Joe Dante, and it is Gremlins, where we'll meet Gizmo, the Mogwai, Billy, as played by Zach Gilligan. It's ages since I watched this. Not the best 4K upgrade, but the film itself is still awesome. Another one, which is a Christmas movie, because it's set at Christmas in the Pretend Village, which is also obviously the exact same set they used for Back to the Future, except this time with snow in it, because it's the town square at Universal Studios or in LA. I can't be wrong, I could just be making all that up, but it's the same set anyway. But yes, Gremlins, one of the first creature features I ever watched. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We've only had 2 of these, which is quite surprising because of the popularity of the kind of franchise, I guess. This one and then the new batch. I didn't get to see this one at the cinema. I got to see the Gremlins 2, the new batch, at the cinema, and thoroughly enjoyed that. But Gremlins, great. Phoebe Cates as well as Billy's girlfriend. Then we get the actual Gremlins as opposed to the Mogwais. It's just really, really good. I haven't seen it in a long, long time. I do intend to revisit it very soon. But again, from the 80s, this is still loved to this day. And it's what, 1984, so we're coming up to what, 40 years later and still loved. Brilliant. So there you go. That's about next in my top 20. I keep losing count. Is Gremlins. In at number 14 comes from 1987. Yes, the same year as Lethal Weapon, where Stanley Kubrick went to Shepperton Studios in England and he filmed Full Metal Jacket. Yep. An amazing, amazing Vietnam training to Vietnam War film, coming of age, kind of within there. Lee Emmerich as the drill sergeant. You know, it is such an iconic film. Obviously, Matthew Modine, who plays Private Joker in this, is now in Stranger Things. It's just brilliant. Plus the 4K transfer, this is absolutely superb and outstanding. It's full screen. It's just spot on. I couldn't fault. If you haven't seen Full Metal Jacket, I highly encourage you to watch it. It is very good. Iconic moments throughout this film, iconic lines throughout this film. You know, the whole sucky sucky $5 is all from this movie. You know, this is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for shooting, this is for fun, from this movie. Yeah, it's just absolutely brilliant and highly recommended. That's Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, and that's next in my list. In at number 13 is quite possibly one of my favourite war films ever made. It's from 1986, and it is Oliver Stone's Platoon. Amazing film. You know, you've got Willem Dafoe, Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen. It's just, this is kind of, as it says, the first, was it the first, I've forgotten the tagline in this. First loss in war is innocence, or something along those lines. Yeah, it's just struggle for power in there, struggle to deal with it. You know, got a young Johnny Depp in here. You've got a Dadju on strings in here as part of the soundtrack when they burned down a Vietnamese village. It's just iconic. I mean, even Willem Dafoe's character here in this actual stance is iconic. This film is just brilliant. If you haven't seen Platoon, again, as with the majority of these films, actually I like them all, so I recommend all of them. But as a war film, this is raw. It's great. It gets narrated by Charlie Sheen. It's just really, really good. So 1986, Oliver Stone's Platoon is next on my list, and this is highly recommended from a war film perspective. Give it a watch. Next in the list is an alien stroke other creature feature, I guess, from 1987, directed by John McTiernan. It is Arnie's Predator. What a great film. This is just absolutely outstanding. Obviously, we all know Jean-Claude Van Damme was going to play the creature, but then completely rehashed it, redid it. Another actor came in and played it. You know, another classic lines in here: if it bleeds, we can kill it. All that kind of action. We've got skinning of people hanging up in trees. We've got the heat vision. It's just absolutely, and this is obviously 1987 is the birth of this character of the Predator. We've got another one coming out called Prey this year. But yeah, Predator, what can you say about this? 4K picture on this is crispy quality as well. It's full screen as well. But yeah, it's Predator. It's a classic. If you haven't seen this, why haven't you? And if you have, you know how good it is. That's all I can say about that. There you go. Finally, coming in at number 11 is James Cameron's 1984 classic that again started a franchise, and that is again Schwarzenegger, and again it's The Terminator. So I've had Predator and The Terminator, two iconic movies, both with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Again, this one started the franchise, and then Terminator 2 took it and like just skyrocketed it, and then we crashed and burned with Terminator 3. But first one, I still personally think this is on the same level as Terminator 2. I know people like Terminator 2 as well, but I like them both equally. I think they're both fantastic. This one coined the phrase, I'll be back. It's just because I think Arnold Schwarzenegger said he wanted it to be, I will be back. But James Cameron told me, no, I'll be back. And I think I could be wrong with that, but I'm sure that's a history of that line. But again, the special effects by Stan Winston, this is fantastic. It's just, again, another iconic movie. From all these movies that have come through, some of them, or at least I'd say majority of them from the 80s, are just bona fide classics. And they're still to this day. And, you know, people are getting introduced to this now in 2022. You know, and this film's from 1980s. Oh, I've forgotten now, 1984, did I say? Yeah, 1984. You know, how good is that? But yeah, again, like I was going to say in this, if you haven't seen this, watch it. And if you have seen it, you know how good it is. So that's Terminator, which is in at number 11. Time for the top 10. So here we go. This is the top 10 of my favourite movies from the 1980s, which is basically from when I was 2 years old to when I was 12 years old, I think. Is that right? 1978? Yeah, I think so. So straight in there. Another Stanley Kubrick run, as I mentioned, Full Metal Jacket earlier on. This is from 1980, I think it is. The adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining. Yeah, I love this film. It's one of those films that used to be on the BBC late at night, like 10:30, 11, and before I went to bed for college or uni, whatever, it came on, and you catch half of it, if not all of it. Sat down one day, and I watched it all, and it's absolutely fantastic. This is one of my all-time favourite movies. Shelley Duvall, Jack Nicholson, absolutely stellar cast. Jack Nicholson is great in this. It's just such a good film. You know, the character of Jack Torrance that Jack Nicholson brings to life is brilliant. You know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Absolutely brilliant. I've got the T-shirt. I've got a T-shirt which is the Overlook Hotel. Overlook Hotel has become an iconic building now, because obviously Stephen King wrote it, and another one hotel when he wrote it and then from that based it on the Overlook Hotel was based on the hotel he was writing it in, and you got the famous carpet. Absolutely brilliant. I can't recommend this enough, and also the 4K upgrade of this is absolutely amazing. So number 10 in my top 10 of the 80s is The Shining. Coming in at number 9 is a 1998 bona fide absolute classic of cinema. It was this actor's first time playing a non-comedic role in a lead, so much so that they didn't put any pictures of him of the posters because they thought they'd get ridiculed for hiring him to be this action star, and that is John McTiernan's 1988 Die Hard. Not only is this one of my all-time favourite movies, but this is also my number one Christmas go-to movie as well. This is, again, for me, it is 100% a Christmas movie. It's set on Christmas Eve. It's got Christmas music in it. I just could go on about it. Honestly, I don't get people who don't think this is a Christmas movie. I'm sorry if you're one of those people, but you're wrong. This is a Christmas movie, and it is one of my all-time favourites. Yippee-ki-yay is in there. You know, you've got Alan Rickman playing Hans Gruber, falling off the building. You've got Al, the police guy, getting his Twinkies. Absolutely brilliant. You know, every time I see our older neighbour outside cutting the grass with his tank top on, I go, oh, he's probably his Bruce Willis or his Die Hard vest. Absolutely iconic. There's nothing more really I can say about this. I love all the sequels as well. Well, maybe not the latest one, but 1 and 2 and 3 with a Vengeance are absolutely fantastic. So coming in number 9 of my favourite 80s is Die Hard. Number 8 is Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yes, not Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, just Raiders of the Lost Ark. Stellar, absolutely brilliant. I mean, I'm looking forward to the 5th one. 4th one is, but 1, 2, and 3, I'd say Raiders, Temple, and Last Crusade are obviously the best. But in order them, I would put Raiders, Last Crusade, then Temple. Temple of Doom isn't my favourite of the trilogy, but it's not rubbish. It's just below Raiders and The Last Crusade. But yes, Indiana Jones, what more can you say about this 1981 movie? Absolutely, again, it's the start of a franchise that came out in 1981. You've got the Universal Studios now. They've got like the stunt coordination kind of spectacle, I suppose, that they do there. No, it's Universal. It's all about Paul. It's MGM Studios, or I think it's called MGM Studios. I can't remember what it's called now, over in Disney World and Disneyland. Brilliant. You know, Harrison Ford played 2 iconic characters. He's gone from Harrison Ford to Indiana Jones, all in the 80s, so he didn't get stereotyped. Is that right? Stereocast? Oh, I can't even think of the word now. But yes, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, absolutely awesome film. There you go. That is my next on the list. Coming in at number 7 is a film that many people would think I would rate higher. Now, as an overall film, yes, it would rate higher as an my all-time favourite, but in the 80s, purely like what I like the most of the 80s, this is down at, what place have I got this in? 7th place, and that is Ghostbusters. Yeah, not Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters 1. Yeah, 1984, I remember my dad taking me to the cinema to see this. I've told this story multiple times. It is an absolutely awesome franchise. 1 and 2 are great. I still like the second one. And I really love Ghostbusters Afterlife, but for me, 1984's original is still absolutely awesome. To me, it's like a 9, if not 10 out of 10 kind of movie. It's absolutely fantastic. It's part of my youth. It's part of my upbringing. I loved it. I love the real Ghostbusters on the back of that. I had the toys, the Actor 1 toy, everything. Still to this day, I've got a Ghostbusters poster on my wall here. It's just iconic. The logo that Dan Aykroyd created here is iconic. It is another one, which again from the 80s, there's quite a few I've gone through here, which have now become franchises. You know, Indiana Jones franchise, and then I've forgotten the other ones I've put in here. Terminator franchise, Predator franchise, Gremlins franchise, Lethal Weapon franchise. There's loads of franchises that began in the 80s, and this is why I really love the 80s films. Brilliant, this film. You know, it's just a shame that James Belushi couldn't be in it. Not James Belushi, John Belushi, not James Belushi, that's K9. John Belushi couldn't be in it because he passed away, because he was going to be playing the Venkman character, but obviously the homage to him with regards to the mock-up and creation of Slimer in the first film. But yeah, Ghostbusters, what can you say about this? Absolute classic, one of my all-time favourites, and if not one of the best films ever made in my opinion. Yep, so that next on the list is Ghostbusters. In at number 6 is a 1989 film that to me is still the best of the franchise in my opinion, and that is Batman with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton. Absolutely fantastic. I remember going to see this at the cinema again, like quite a lot of these movies, waiting in line at the local cinema where I used to live, queuing, sitting there watching this spectacle. Like for me, it was my first kind of comic book adaptation on the big screen. I waited for the VHS to come out to rented it loads of times from Blockbuster, bought it on VHS, bought it on DVD, bought it on Blu-ray, and now obviously I've got the 4K version of it. I love it. It's just, again, so many lines in here. You know, where does it get those wonderful toys? You ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight? It's just, you know, you say I made you, but you made me first. You know, that kind of, it's just brilliant. Tim Burton brings it to life. You still got the set in England where it was built, the Gotham City Gothic kind of look to it. Iconic Batmobile for this as well. It's just an overall, for me, the best Batman film. Yes, I love the Batman, and yes, I love the Nolan trilogy and the Dark Knight and all that. But for me, from a personal perspective, and a kind of what's the word I'm looking for my own upbringing in the genre of films and that kind of thing, this has always been high up there. I just love it. The Batsuit's iconic. Everything about this film is iconic. You know, Jack Nicholson's prosthetics, everything. But yeah, there you go. 1989's Batman. Well, what can you say? It's Batman. In at number 5. Now you're going to think, why have you not put this higher in the list, Paul? But again, it's my own personal preference. We have Back to the Future. Yes, Back to the Future. It's one of those films that I always say you have to see Back to the Future. If someone says, I haven't seen Back to the Future, I'm like, have you not seen Back to the Future? It's absolutely brilliant. Again, like I said, franchise built in the 80s. Yeah, you know, what was it going to call this? Spaceman from Pluto was the original working title on this before they changed it to Back to the Future. You had Eric Stoltz in the Marty McFly role before Michael J. Fox. There's loads of stories attached to this trilogy. It's just brilliant. But the first one that started it all is still my favourite. I think my favourite goes from 1, 2 and 3 all the way through. You know, the 4K upgrade of these and the steel books is spectacular. And it's just a pity that the boxing of it isn't very good. But yeah, Back to the Future. I mean, I'm not going to bang on about it. You know how good it is if you've seen it, and if you haven't, what rock have you been hiding under? So there you go. Next in my list is Back to the Future. Here we are, top 4. In at number 4 is a film that I, in my personal opinion, think is better than The Goonies. It is a Fred Dekker film. It is from 1987. It's one of those films that you watched when you were younger, forgot about it, then rediscovered it and realised how good it is. And that is the Goonies with Universal Monsters, I guess. But I remember that they couldn't really use real likenesses to the Universal Monsters, so they had to kind of tweak the images. And that is Monster Squad. Absolutely brilliant. You've got Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, the Mummy and the Gillman all in there. Kind of Friends, Wolfman's got Nards. It was a film I'd actually forgotten about until about 10 years ago. And then, because I remember when I was at school, I created a group called the Monster Squad. We all had little cards. It's really sad, really. But I just love the Monster Squad. It is so good. People ask me, oh, the theme tune theme song from the theme tune. What is the song at the beginning of your videos? You know, rock until they drop. And it's from this bit. There's a bit towards end of the film where they're creating weapons to defeat the creatures, and that's what that song's from. So if you haven't checked out the Monster Squad from 1987, I highly recommend it. For me, it's much better than Goonies. Don't get me wrong, I do like Goonies, but for me, this is much better than it, as I keep saying. Like I said, much better. Yeah, I just love this film so much. It's so good. So yes, next on the list is 1987's The Monster Squad. In at number 3, again, you'll be like, why is this number 3, Paul, and not number 1? It is 1980s Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. Yep. My joint, or probably second because of Rogue One, favourite Star Wars movie. Another one of my a lot of things is nostalgic, I think is the word to use for 80s films, because with me being 43 now, you know, I was between 12, 15, 16 when I started getting into movies properly. These were all around the generation I either saw at the cinema or rediscovered them again. Star Wars has always been a part and parcel of the movies that I've got into, and it's again franchise. I know it started in the 70s, but again, it's a franchise that started. Not directed by George Lucas, directed by Ivan Kershner, because I think George Lucas had a mental breakdown, I believe, if I read correctly, when he made A New Hope, or just Star Wars. Let's not call it New Hope. It is Star Wars, right? Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. That's it. There's none of this Star Wars. Anyway, Empire Strikes Back, brilliant. The reveal in it with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett making his first appearance before they kind of specialised the original one. But yeah, so number 3 of my favourite 80s movies is The Empire Strikes Back. Coming in at number 2 is 1986, James Cameron directed, Sigourney Weaver starring, and if you're going to watch it, watch a director's cut. Now I don't have this as a single, I'm just going to show you this, is Aliens. Yes, Aliens, brilliant. Corporal Hicks, Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen as Bishop, absolutely brilliant. This film is Alien up a notch, and basically, as more of a suspense film, it's become a war film. It's quite literally is what it is. The director's got as much better because you've got the gun turrets in there. You've got the beginning bit on LV-426 where the facehugger attacks Newt's family, so you see the origins of her. It's just the director's got a much better version of the film, and I just love this film. I do love Alien, but I always think from me watching these movies, and maybe not Resurrection, that for me, this is the best one. Aliens, then Alien, then Alien 3. I do love Alien 3. It gets a lot of hate, but we're not talking about that here. We're talking about Aliens. Director's got brilliant. You've gone from one alien to a nest full of aliens. You've got the Queen alien here. You've got the tagline, "Get away from him, you bitch." You've got the knife scene. Absolutely brilliant. This is when Ripley becomes the badass we all know her as now. Because Hicks obviously shows her how to do the weapon. She goes back with the flamethrower attached to the machine gun to the nest to get new. It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Highly recommended. Someone, I believe, this is ages, I could be wrong here, but someone said that they thought Aliens was overrated. Have a word with yourself. Aliens, brilliant. That is number 2 on my chart for the 80s. James Cameron's 1986 classic Aliens. And that is it. We are now in the number 1 top spot of my countdown from 20 to number 1 of my favourite films from the 80s. Now, so far, you may think, oh, it's quite apparent which one you've missed out here, Paul, and hopefully it's the one I'm going to show you now, which is the year 1982. The director, John Carpenter, that's right. The actor, Kurt Russell, that's right. Where's it set? The Antarctic. Yeah, it is. The Thing. This film is superb. You've got suspense. You've got animatronics. I suppose animatronics? Well, real creature feature kind of, none of your CGI rubbish there and there. Let's keep them real. it's just absolutely brilliant. You can't trust anyone, and from watching this, you really are on the edge of the seat thinking, who is the creature? Where's this creature? Whose body has it infested? You know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers crossed with Alien. This is exactly what you've got. It's not a remake of the It Came From Outer Space or Who Goes There, the book. This is its own thing. It's a reinterpretation as opposed to a reboot or a remake. The thing that came from outer space, you know, you've obviously got Who Goes There, the thing came from outer space, then this, and the prequel. And I don't mind the prequel, but this for me is absolutely brilliant. The tension in it is superb. And even at the end leaves you on a question mark. The music that John Carpenter provided for the film as well is absolutely fantastic. I just can't build up this film enough. It is absolutely brilliant. Again, it's in my top 10 of all time. It is so good. I never tire of watching this, and I could bang on about how good this film is for ages, but I'm not going to. That is where I'm going to leave it. So there you go. Number 1, John Carpenter's The Thing. And that is it. We've made it from 20 to number 1. What did you think of my films, my choices? Would yours be the same? I know mine, some of them are a bit different to Big Paulie's, whose link I left up earlier on. Tell me what you think. Are there any 80s films I missed out? I know there's probably going to be a few. I know Nightmare on Elm Street isn't on there, Friday the 13th isn't on there, Big Trouble in Little China isn't on there, other kind of 80s films on there, which I mean, Beverly Hills Cop, you know, there's loads, but obviously those are great movies, but they're just not, wouldn't make it in my top 20, hence them not being here. But anyway, thank you again for watching. I'm going to leave it there. If you like the video, or you fancy doing it yourself, get involved, give the video a thumbs up, because it helps the video to get out there. I really appreciate if you do so. Don't forget to please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Your support is astounding. The 700 odd that I've got in a minute is brilliant. I just love all the comments and all the feedback I get. It's outstanding. Thank you so much to those who are watching, and I'll leave you there. This is Geordie Paul, last survivor member of Magpie Movies, saying what we do in life echoes in eternity, and I'll see you all on my next video. Ciao for now. Ciao. Ciao for now.